Justice Mooney.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, for the opportunity to rise and speak on the Oranga Tamariki Responding to Serious Youth Offending Amendment Bill at its first reading. Mr Speaker, the youth justice system is working for most children and young people with offending behaviour, but not all, Mr Speaker. There is a small cohort of young people who are committing most of the serious and persistent offending and continue to offend despite interventions. And Mr Speaker, I can speak to this having been a youth advocate in the courts, having been a defence lawyer in courts across New Zealand, worked in prisons across New Zealand, worked as a mental health advocate across New Zealand. There are some, Mr Speaker, who continue to come back time and time again to the courts, and those interventions aren't working. Something different needs to be done. And this bill, Mr Speaker, is to do something different. So this bill, Mr Speaker, will establish a young serious offender declaration and a new military-style academy order in the Oranga Tamariki Act. Mr Speaker, this declaration, the YSO declaration, the Young Serious Offender Declaration, seeks to achieve increased public safety and accountability for offending and reoffending. And that accountability, Mr Speaker, is important, as is the public safety component, which is important. And there are, unfortunately, Mr Speaker, some young people, and not just young people, in this country who commit some very serious violent offending, Mr Speaker, the most serious violent offending, in some cases if their offending is not arrested early enough. And Mr Speaker, I have also seen this both professionally and personally, Mr Speaker. And there are some, and I heard some comments around the use of force, and the use of force is the use of restraint, Mr Speaker, for those who will commit violent offences potentially against themselves or against others who they are in a facility with, or against staff who they are in a facility with. And there is a necessity, Mr Speaker, for restraint of those who would use force to prevent them from using that force. And that is the sole reason those rules will be in place. The other thing, Mr Speaker, that this bill will do, it aims to achieve a reduction in the seriousness and frequency of offending through access to a timely and enhanced rehabilitative service response. I'll say that again, Mr Speaker, a timely and enhanced rehabilitative service response, which, as the Minister said in her speech, will put the needs of young people at the heart of the program. It will put the needs of the young person at the heart of the program. And, Mr Speaker, it will have an intensive care management for each young person, recognising that there are a unique component of factors which have led them to the position they're in. And Mr Speaker, I've heard concerns around this being a military-style academy. And Mr Speaker, I can speak also from personal experience, having been an Army reservist. The Army isn't what it used to be, Mr Speaker. The Army is not the place of physical discipline, of overtly aggressive behaviour, and bullying, etc. Mr Speaker. That is not the modern New Zealand Army. Mr Speaker, I spent time in Waiouru, my initial training, and I came there, Mr Speaker, as someone who thought of myself as an independent thinker. I wasn't sure how to handle that disciplined environment. I can say, Mr Speaker, it's fantastic. There's the opportunity for 3 square meals a day, which is something many of these young people will not have experienced. There's the opportunity to form teams with the people that you are with. And there's the opportunity, Mr Speaker, to learn about what one is capable of, to learn things that one did not know, capabilities that one did not have. And it takes time, Mr Speaker, to change behaviour. It doesn't happen in a few weeks. It doesn't even happen in a couple of months. And I know this having had many clients, Mr Speaker, across New Zealand who have had a desire to change, who have had a real desire to change themselves, address the often acute trauma that sits within them, but they have struggled, Mr Speaker, in rehabilitation programs to stay focused and to address them, because it is hard work to address the demons, so to speak, that sit within people's souls that they need to address from their past. And it takes time, and this, Mr Speaker, this program will give them that time. It will help give them those interventions, give them that rehabilitation, and help them find that sense of purpose that will empower them to live lives that will be good for them and be good for our community. I commend this bill to the House.
What is he talking about, fighting demons? Does he think this is a Doom video game?
It's crazy. They need to get mental health people, officials, to talk to them, saying it won't work with the young ones. They end up need mental health help. Military bases.
I mean, he's not entirely wrong. I'll give that to him. I was going over the report for the military-style activity camp, or MAC for short, that the last national government put out there. They found that 1 in 5 people that graduated from the program had a successful transition back into community. But there's a key thing that needs to be highlighted here. They were often living in a different location before the program, and they were living with a supportive member, so in their family, right? They often had a supportive parent or a supportive role model in their family, and that's key, right? You've got to have that in your communities, otherwise these people will go back and reoffend.
We must be having something that gets Stacey to jump in.
Always.
Stacey has thoughts.
Just for once. No smooth brain today. We are good. The ADHD is kicking in bloody hard though, and memory is all over the place.
Let's go.
I think it was Laura was saying nope, smooth brain. Haha. It hit me. There we go. being funded by the taxpayer. There we go.
Yeah.
So basically, the government is saying to us that if we want these little hooligans off the streets, we have to pay to do something about it. Right, which is the first one. The second one is we were talking about the difference between volunteer and forced.
Mhm.
That word's gone to. And while that conversation was happening, I was thinking to myself, are they trying to turn us into South Korea? Like mandatory, there we go, mandatory.
Robot.
It's not just South Korea.
Military.
Israel also has mandatory military service.
Right.
Yep.
And
I think
including
Singapore as well, doesn't it?
yes, yeah, I think Singapore does, yes.
Yep.
And I think Indonesia as well, but
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
sure.
Compulsory, that'll do too. Thanks, Dave. And yeah, like I've been watching the comments coming up. I've been listening to the things, listening to you guys, and it's like all of you here tonight with us are absolutely right. Like getting forced into being up before the sun rises, getting yelled at by superiors.
Yeah.
It's not going to help anybody in the long run.
Especially when people.
It's going to cause PTSD and CPTSD.
Yeah.
And
It'll increase your mental health.
exactly,
In America,
and people who have come from a background of that happening in their daily lives
Yeah.
are not going to respond well.
no,
It's
they're
going to
not.
cause them more issues than they went in there with in the first place.
Yeah.
It's going to make them worse and
Well,
better.
Exactly.
The support's not going to be there for
No.
them when they come out. I mean, Oranga Tamariki has already confirmed it's going to axe 419 roles to meet the government's required spending cuts. Where's the support for these people?
They need mental health workers there to help them out, help them. But if I won't have them, because the government won't do it.
No.
Because there's not enough funding.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. They have all of the evidence saying that, international evidence saying this does not work. And, hey, come back here. There it is. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think
You
around
will be trained
Dreamland,
to hate the world. You will be trained to hate authority. You will be trained to just hate.
Yeah.
And with all the steps that this country is taking backwards, we're going to end up in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to know what their wrong place is. I'm looking at you, America.
yep, old Trump.
Oh, yes, it's going to be a very interesting time.
Oh yeah.